They optimized my bottlenecks, removed redundant pointer checks. The database's sub-selects are indexed to a T. They shaved the microseconds down till there was nothing left to count. I instantaneously found the answer in a breeze. But I've been feeling so alone. Nobody here's called me from a function or a phone. If I'm dead code, let me die. 'Cause I'm only wasting.
It's the Monday Morning Show. Today is May 18th, 2015. I'm Ken LaSalle. That's Josh Woodward singing Dead Code. You can find out more about Josh at joshwoodward.com. You can find out more about me at kenlasalle.com. I usually have a pretty good idea what I'd like to talk about each week when I sit down to write Monday's episode. But this week is going to be a bit different. It's the middle of May, and time once again to update you on how my Pacific Crest Trail plans are developing. But before I get to that, I want to tell you about something that happened to me yesterday. It's something that has been on my mind. I can't seem to shake it. You see, I was out jogging on the Santa Ana River Trail yesterday, which is my usual place to jog. Up by Anaheim, the river isn't paved and its banks are defined by huge boulders. The trail runs along the upper banks, so you can actually see down into the riverbed. I was passed by two cyclists who could see down into the riverbed better than I. I won't lie, my eyesight isn't great. And I saw them up ahead get off their bikes and climb down into the riverbed. What were they doing that for? I wondered. As I approached, I could see what they went down for, as one of the cyclists reached into a pool of water no bigger than a kitchen sink and found... I couldn't tell what it was until I got closer. It was a fish. You see, the Santa Ana River isn't exactly like your usual river. Water is released from Prado Dam up north every so often, and the river never has more than a couple of inches of water in it unless there's a huge storm. We're in California, though. There's never a huge storm. The water runs off or evaporates, and we're left with these sporadic pools where birds bathe themselves or where bugs breed. Somehow, a fish had made its way out of Prado Dam and far enough down the river that it ended up in this little pool. The cyclist picked up the fish by the tail. The fish was as long as his forearm. It wasn't small. And he carried it down the river. As I jogged, I could see a large pool of water, much larger than a swimming pool, up ahead. The cyclist was going to throw it in. And he did. I watched as he lobbed it underhand, and the fish sailed gracefully into the water. "It's not floating," I called down, "so I think you got it there in time." "That'll buy it a couple more days," the cyclist said. A couple of days. This is why I can't shake the experience. The guy had climbed down into the riverbed and rescued that fish for just a couple of days. We probably won't get any rain in that time. That pool the fish is in is going to dry out, and the fish will die. Should I be encouraged by this experience? By the way one person went out of his way to save the life of a fish? That's hard to do, because I also know that humanity is eating its way through whatever is left of our oceans, whatever we haven't already killed off with our pollutants and neglect. Why can't we all go down that riverbank? Why can't we all save the life of an animal we might otherwise kill for dinner? What are we going to do with dead oceans anyway? Because our oceans are dying faster than we ever thought possible. It will happen in this century, after which human life will become a lot more difficult. This may happen in my lifetime. It'll certainly happen in our children's lifetimes. I don't have kids, but I should think it would be something people with kids would find themselves concerned about. Evidence shows they're not, though. They keep eating fish, they keep using plastic, they keep killing our oceans. Your kids are going to be pretty damned angry with you when the oceans die. I'll tell you that. Now, I'm hoping to get out and see some of the beauty in nature before we kill it all off. That's why I'm planning my Pacific Crest Trail journey in 2017. The last time I spoke about my Pacific Crest Trail, or PCT plans, I had to ditch my size 14 shoes for size 15s. You know, clown shoes. But I'll tell you, I got myself some insoles, and those things are as comfortable as I could imagine. A couple of weeks ago, I went on a long hike up to Chiquito Falls off the Ortega Highway. Chiquito Falls used to be these beautiful towering waterfalls in a secluded chasm between a couple of tough-to-reach ridges. Now, well, the ridges are still there. So's the chasm. The falls, however, looked better when there was something to fall. The drought in Southern California has killed our waterfalls. But you know, I made it up those ridges. The elevation gain was nearly 3,000 feet. My new shoes worked great, and starting the trail nice and early, getting there was no problem. The hike back, however, was a bit harder. I was already tired from the hike up. On the way up, I had all of the trail to myself. Coming back, I began to meet people. I met a couple in their 30s, and we stopped and talked a bit. They admired how equipped I was, especially the water reservoir in my backpack. They loved that. I remember when Vicky and I were that couple, meeting another well-equipped person on the trail who told us about the wonders of a water reservoir, with a tube that ran out of your pack so you didn't have to stop and pull out a bottle. It's very helpful. I also met another couple in their early 20s, and I remembered when that couple was me and my first wife, new to hiking and trepidatious. A bit afraid, actually. The girl in the couple asked about any snakes up the trail. Snakes don't frighten me much anymore. These days I'm more afraid of cougars. But I let her know her travels would still be snake-free until the sun came out a bit more. It's nice to be the guy who knows his way around a bit, because next weekend I'll be soloing my first overnight backpacking trip up in the San Gorgonio wilderness. I've been there with people before, but I haven't soloed, and I need to get used to that. So, off I go. I double-checked all my gear this weekend. I pitched my tent and lay inside of it in my sleeping bag. That checked out great. My backpack, however, this pack I've held onto since 1998, which I purchased with my ex-wife, is so out of date that it is both too small and too heavy for my needs. It provides just 20 liters of storage space, enough for my sleeping bag, my tent, some of my gear, but none of my food or water. Oh, and it does not provide any room for that blessed water reservoir. Sometime today I plan to head on over to REI, where they're having a pretty good sale. I'm hoping to get a new backpack along with more gear I still need, a water filter, ground cover, jet boil, and such. This is not an inexpensive hobby, and I warned Vicky about that when we first discussed what it would take to journey along the PCT. In case I haven't mentioned it, I don't know how I'm actually going to reach the point where I'll be adequately prepared for the task. There's a lot to be afraid of in through hiking such a distance, and I'm ready to be afraid of everything. Well, maybe not snakes. But there's still cougars and heat stroke, lightning strikes, and plain old getting lost. Tell you what, I'll stop there. The whole reason I discuss this every 3 months is to put my fear out in plain view, so I'm not hiding it. You know, to get comfortable with the idea that, yes, I'm afraid, but I'm going to do it anyway. At least, I think I will. And with that, let's move along to the cool thing for the week. This week, Hawaii passed a bill that aims to meet 100% of Hawaii's energy needs with renewables by the year 2045. Why is this important? Well, first off, that's energy independence. what we're all looking for. More than that, however, consider the amount of oil, gas, and coal that will not have to be put on tankers and shipped out to them. Hawaii's boon is also ours, which we should keep in mind when it comes to other places in the world. The less we have to ship, or pipe, or drill, the fewer spills we'll have to deal with. Less destruction, getting at fossil fuels and shipping fossil fuels, is the side effect of using fewer fossil fuels, burning fewer fossil fuels. It's a win all the way around. Now, if we could just find a way of making this island we call the United States energy independent, we need to get our entire nation off of fossil fuels. This episode is brought to you by my novel, Heaven Enough. Recently, I was asked why I wrote Heaven Enough, and here's what I said. Somewhere off of Highway 79 in Southern California, just outside of the little town of Warner Springs, you'll find an intersection with the PCT. From this intersection, you can hike southeast through lovely rolling hills under the boughs of huge California oaks until you reach the massive collection of rocks and boulders that has been well named as Eagle Rock. When my wife and I took this hike, I had long been considering my own PCT voyage. This consideration had all been in my head, however. The PCT is not a journey taken lightly or without considerable planning, but I was in love with the PCT before I'd ever walked on it. I had interviewed a PCT thru hiker named Mindy Dunham for my podcast, So Dream Something. I had followed the YouTube videos of folks who had attempted the journey. I even planned out my own PCT trek, which will come together when I have the time and the money in April of 2017. One of the perks of being a writer is that even if I couldn't take the trip myself, I could write about others taking it. And I knew just who I wanted to go. It was a character based on a question my friend Sean and I had debated years ago. Sean had lost his first wife to leukemia, which I talk about at some length in my forthcoming book, Climbing Maya, and I had lost mine to divorce. Those who lose their spouse to death are expected to mourn, but those who divorce are expected to make the best of it. What is the proper response to loss, anyway? And so, I put a man on the PCT who had lost his wife to a death he couldn't accept. I had him meet a woman named Heather, who had also lost so much. I put these two lost souls out in the middle of nowhere in the hopes of finding some humanity in the desert, and was heartbroken by the way they found love. The resulting novel I titled Heaven Enough. I took the name from a poem I'd written. The first line reads, "What would it be like if I had heaven enough?" I believe that's what most of us are looking for. Not all of heaven, not the most expensive things or the most amazing adventures. When you suffer the loss of someone you love, sometimes you feel yourself satisfied simply by heaven enough. And, as it turns out, heaven enough is still heaven attained. I hope you'll pick up and enjoy a copy of Heaven Enough, available in ebook and paperback from Limitless Publishing. And that's the Monday Morning Show for May 18th, 2015. Be sure to check back next week for another episode. Head on down to kenlasalle.com for all the latest. You can find my ebooks, paperbacks, and audiobooks all over, etc., etc., etc. You have yourself a terrific week. Be good to yourself. Be kind to others. Let's make this world a better place.
Nobody here has called me from a function or a phone. If I'm dead, code, let me die, 'cause I'm only wasting memory alive. If I'm dead, code, wipe the drive, 'cause I'd rather be a memory than a ghost who's still alive.